Why don't you start us off with your usual reading?
Okay, the reading, I actually have three little.
Thank you, darling.
Very, very faint.
Okay,
Still can't hear you,
is this any better?
No, it's very poor, very
Hi.
difficult.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Morning,
Helene.
But why don't you start and let me play around a little bit to see if
Can't
I
hear
can.
him at all.
Right, Helene, this is
Okay.
your fan club, right here.
Yeah, David, if you're having difficulties with the speaker, I honestly don't know what to.
Speaker or the microphone?
Hello, is that better?
No, it's your microphone.
Can you
I
look?
changed the microphone. Is that
The setting.
Yes,
That's
there.
better. There you go.
Better. You find me.
Okay, well then let me try this.
That's it.
Please.
Let me try this. There are three little quotations, two of which I read on Wednesday, and one which I didn't. The first one was uttered by John F. Kennedy at the American University on June the 10th, 1963. And he said, "For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures. And we are all mortal." And the other one, I've read to you many times before. And as you know, the tomorrow and tomorrow thing for Macbeth, and how I think that it was anticipating by 4 centuries Einstein's space-time and general relativity. But it was inappropriate for a funeral, so I changed it. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in its petty pace from day to day, over 30 wonderful, unforgettable years to the last syllable of recorded time, and then is heard no more. Out, out, brief candle. Life is so much more than a walking shadow of friends and players who struts and frets their hours across the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot. It is a tale told by a genius, full of sound and light, signifying so much. And now I go to the Hamlet, which is stolen from King Charles III, who said these words not too long ago. Now cracks a noble heart. Good night, sweet Wendy, and may flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. Thank you all, and God bless you. I will need to leave before the end of the session, but I'm with you for a good while.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Yes, Rabbi.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Shabbat
Good morning.
Shalom and Gemar
Morning.
Chatima Tova. I just want to remind people and invite, if at all possible, we are having a Shiva service tomorrow evening at David's house at approximately 7 o'clock. And if anybody would like to go but needs a ride, please let me know, and we'll see if we can coordinate transportation.
The address, if I could say this, is 2500 East Whetstones Road in Vail. 2500 East Whetstones Road. And
In
we'll
Vail.
look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi. As far as
Marty, just a second, if I could.
sure.
It does resume for us this evening and goes on till Tuesday. And that's that. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you, David. Any other comments? David, we wish you and the family good health, and we all express our concern and sorrows at the passing of Wendy.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much, Marty.
I'm going to read our prayer, And I'll read it in English this time. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. You have sanctified us through your commandments and have commanded us to busy ourselves in things of Torah. Amen.
Man,
Amen.
So I think, and Ricky, you can correct me.
Okay.
I think we finished
Verse 28.
Exodus 22, and we're now beginning Exodus 23, verse 1. Am I right?
No.
No. Okay. I've always. Go ahead.
We finished 22:28.
20. Oh my goodness.
We have the
Okay.
last couple of,
Okay.
we have the last couple of sentences of 22.
Okay. Let's backtrack just one line.
Yep.
One line.
Yeah, that's where
Verse
we
27.
27. Oh,
Okay, Exodus 22, verse 27. And Ricky, if you would like to read, please.
sure. You shall not revile God, nor put a curse upon a chieftain among your people.
Okay. Any discussion or comments? Gail, you look perplexed.
I think we did that last week.
We
Rick.
did.
Yes, we did.
I think where we left off was at number 29 was the last one we did.
Yeah. That's
Verse
where,
29 was,
Well, that's what I thought.
yeah, 29. So we should be on 30.
That's what I thought originally.
I need to say that in a way I'd like to respectfully disagree with it, nor curse a ruler of thy people, because I believe in the United States it is our duty to criticize our leaders when necessary. It's not an option. We are supposed to do that. We're not supposed to harm them, but we are supposed to criticize them if they are our leaders. That's part of our duties as U.S. citizens, don't you think?
there's the criticism. I take that it's very important, Dovi, what you mentioned. It's how you criticize, the words you use, the expressions you use, so it doesn't come across so hurtful, because words hurt. The way you say something, after something is done, you say, well, I'm not going to get, but that's very, very critical. It's how you criticize, the way you come about it.
Michael, I could not agree with you more.
Thank you.
The words from my mouth. And thank you for adding that. And God bless you, Michael.
Anyone else on that subject?
David, you're fading again on that microphone. Sorry.
Yeah, David, it's very hard to hear you with that. If you can use a different microphone, that would be useful.
I hope this is better.
Oh, that's better. Whatever you just did improved everything. Helene, you have your hand up.
I wanted to respond about what was said just now about the tone of voice.
Yes.
I've been reading how important it is, so crucial to listen to yourself as you talk to people that you love and that you talk to people that you're uncomfortable with. If you're uncomfortable with them, that doesn't mean your tone of voice should be different. Your tone of voice should be caring all the time. We are all divine creatures. And if they're having a hard day, they'll need a softer voice. They don't need a harder voice. So give them the best of you, your loving, kind voice.
Agree. That is a very, very important statement. I thought I saw another. Yes, Rabbi, you, and then Don.
Well, in continued admiration, appreciation for Helene's counsel and advice. That's perfect. The Hebrew, which most of us see here, translated as curse, the curse a leader of the people or curse a chieftain, is the verb that they use as the opposite, the direct opposite of blessing.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, it may not be criticizing. It may be, wishing ill for. It may be saying I reject things that you're saying, but it's different than being critical of. Okay, it's actually projecting an action in one way or another, the opposite of blessing.
Okay, I'll let Don go, and then I'm going to have a turn. Okay,
Go
Don.
ahead.
Well, thank you for that, Rabbi Norm, because that fits in the
Very good.
But
It's
I would flipping that commandment on its head, because the rulers are in place because they have power over the people, and if they consent to be rulers, then they consent to be under scrutiny. Whereas I would imagine that we would not want our rulers to be cursing us. I would see it the other way as a social commandment.
yes.
And also, I know we did this verse last week, but Rabbi, I'm glad you're here, because I was having a problem with the giving firstborn sons to the Lord along with the livestock, all in the same train of thought. And I wonder if you could also shed some light on that, unless we're finished with that first. I'll leave that to Michael. Not Michael, I'm sorry, Marty.
If the rabbi wants to answer your question, and then I'll come back to this.
Well, Marty, tell me which verse
Okay.
Don's
You're
asking
on
about.
verse
Then you
27.
make your comments about the curse.
Okay.
And I'll see what I can.
I think that if we think about it, we started our discussion about in context of today's means of discussing things. Yes, we used to call it civility. Oh, we've forgotten that word. And I think that this is a very important thing. Today, we do put curses on each other. We call each other, we pick on people. We look at their infirmities, and we make fun of them because of that. That they don't know anything, or they can't make good judgment. That is, in a way, removing the blessing from those people. If you think about it, and we're going to talk about, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Marcia,
Yes.
could you do something? You have another two speakers on or something. We're getting a lot of feedback.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, I'll try.
It's usually
Marty?
It usually happens when there are two speakers, but here and we hear this daily, and we then start to accept it as okay, because if our leaders can do it, we can do it, and our leaders are dead wrong. When you think about it, they are removing the blessings to the people. And many of them are doing it intentionally to gain points. It's easier to use your midbrain than it is to use your cortex. Yes, okay, first Gail and Mary.
I was just going to say, the only thing I ask from my rulers, if you would, or the government, is justice. That's
Yes,
it. That's the only thing I ask, is justice.
yeah.
If you're not getting it, then yes, you do need to criticize and you do need to.
Oh, I didn't say anything negative about
I know,
criticizing.
but I'm
It's the
saying that's
manner
the
in
only
which
thing.
they're doing it.
That's the only thing I ask.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Yes, Mary.
Well, I would like, Boker Tov and Shabbat Shalom. I would like to share with you the issue of words, because when I curse someone or I bless someone, the belief is that the power of the word is something that's going to happen.
Mhm.
So when you curse someone, people are very frightened that that's going to happen. Now, what I'm thinking about is that in the Ten Commandments, we say, Lo tisa et Shem Adonai. You are not going to say the name of God. Today, and this is very American, when I came to America, and forgive me to use not very clean language, but let's go for the good one. Many people don't say God. What do they say? Gosh. If they want to say a bad word that starts with SH, they say shift.
Shoot, yeah.
Because the power of the word is very, very strong. And those days is even more. So we need to bear in mind, what does it mean to curse? At those days,
Rabbi,
and these days, excuse me? And
Rabbi,
these
this is
days,
Amy.
Who's ever on that phone number, 520?
Amy, that's Amy.
She was talking.
I had a question for Rabbi Mary.
yeah, just let me finish this
Let her,
sentence.
yes.
So
Of course.
that's why we changed the words. Chas v'chalila. Oh, we are not going to say the bad word because it's going to happen. And in my office, we had this woman who was very upset when I said, oh, Jesus Christ. She said, please don't say that. There is a holiness to words. There is an expectation that will happen with words.
Yeah. Can you, anyone, before I call on Don, can anyone give me a reference in Genesis for this? For this discussion?
Well, the creation, in the creation, and God said, that's what comes to my
Okay.
mind, that the creation itself was by the word.
Because it's what's said in it that changes a story. Okay.
Yeah, I have a suggestion that it might be.
Any ideas, guys?
Yeah, I think that when Eve and Adam ate of the apple from the tree of knowledge, they didn't say anything as they were eating it, but I think is a very similar thing. They broke a real law. And as I've told you in your visits, I've had some difficulties myself with the third commandment over the years. And I'm always having this prayer that I'm uttering to ask God to forgive me. And finally he said, stop asking, just lead a good life and I'll forgive a few tries. But
sometimes we forget some of the stories that we spent some time on. What happens to Rachel? And how is she dealt with? Rachel, how is she dealt with? What happens to her? What does Abraham say? That seals her fate.
Rachel?
Isn't it?
Who are you
Rachel?
talking about?
The idols?
But it's not about words.
Oh,
It's
okay.
about something
No, but what I'm
very-
saying is Abraham, excuse me, not Abraham, Jacob, when he is leaving Laban's.
Okay.
I was wrong at first. It was a slip. And Laban is saying, where are the idols that were taken? Anyone?
Yeah, she lied and said, no.
She lies, but what does Abraham say?
Again, not Abraham, Jacob.
What does Jacob say? I apologize, everyone. What does Jacob say to Laban that seals her fate? Do we not forget?
Okay, Marty, tell us.
Okay. Doesn't he say, they can't find the idols. And doesn't Jacob say, in effect, there's no one here who did it, but let he who stole them. Marsha, we've got a lot of feedback from you.
Well, I keep turning myself off. I'll turn it off and start again. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you have two speakers running? All right. Anyway, doesn't he say that that they should not live? Once something and it turns out to be his wife, and she dies. So isn't that something? So this is what Miri is getting after. Once you say something, you never know where those words are going to carry.
Marty, this is Amy. Can you answer a question for me?
I hope.
Well, it's the question I was going to ask Mary. Do you consider a person's words a form of prayer?
Is it offhand, I would say it's in context. Rabbi Mary, what do you think? And then Don.
Well, I think that, as I was saying, that there is a belief in if you cast someone is going to be cast. I believe that would be the same in the words of brachot. And one thing that comes to my mind is that we say, and you say, for example, bless you. Instead, it will say, be a blessing. But now I'm going out of context, but I believe that the words would be on both sides. It's if the word has weight, then why not? Personally, I think that you can bless in so many words that the other thing that came to my mind is like a prohibition, like a suggestion, or lashon hara, what we call lashon hara in Yiddish, that you don't say bad things about someone. But that's not the direct power of the word. But I believe that you can say a bracha to someone, and on Shabbat, many of you put the hands on the heads of the children, and we say, be like Ephraim or Menashe, which is a bracha. And there's no reason why to believe the opposite. Actually, later on, we're going to find that there are two mountains in the land of Canaan. One is for cussing or mal saying, and one is for brachot. So, it was a very strong belief of what you say about and what you say to. Difficult for me to say.
We all go through life.
Okay, wait a minute, Michael. Don has had his hand up a long time, and then I'll let you chip in.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get lost in talking about language because language is like the water fish swimming. It's everywhere and every place and always there, and we can't conduct our lives without being immersed in language. So it's everything from God using language to create the world to ordering a Big Mac. It's everywhere. But I don't believe, contrary to what I heard in this discussion, is that that words can actually hurt somebody, because it's how the hearer, how the listener, what the listener does with those words. Somebody who is particularly insecure about themselves and about the relationship to God can easily be hurt, feel hurt, not be hurt, but feel hurt by words.
We're going to shortly speak about gossip, Don.
Okay, well, yeah, but whether or not somebody is hurt by the gossip about them, or whether they are hurt by hearing somebody that curse or accusation, depends on their connection to God and their security in their relationship to God.
Don, if I say something negative about you to someone else, you never hear it. You never hear it. But if I say something negative, I'm influencing the thoughts, the speech, and action of another person. That's what gossip is. That's what gossip is about.
But it will only hurt me if it taps into some insecurity I feel about myself.
Not necessarily. Suppose I say, just as an example, a banker asked me, do you think it's okay for me to give a loan to Don? And I said, no, I've heard that he doesn't pay his loans back.
How did you find that
out? No, but the point is, then the banker is influenced by those words.
Yeah,
and you never know. He doesn't say who told him.
But it doesn't hurt me. I mean, I have to find some other channel. It doesn't hurt me because, if I have always paid my loans back, I'll know that. And then I'll find some other way to get maybe borrow some money. But it doesn't hurt me unless I have, cheated on my loan. And then it's going to tap into, then I've violated God's commandment. And then I'll really know, then I will feel hurt.
All right. Michael, and then Ricky.
Yeah, that I have two comments, please. Based on the last one, that what Donald was talking about, and I hope I'm not getting that too far afield here, please. And I just read a piece written by Rabbi Bachman, a Chabad rabbi in California, a very good friend of mine. And he wrote in this latest piece, it was a long piece, but just the general thing is that if you give he says a patch, if you give a slap to a child, it will dissipate it over a very short period of time. It will. But if you say something hurtful with words, that tends to stay with you for a long time, if not for a lifetime. Words really matter, and they word, depending on how it's put together and when the context. is very, very difficult to shake. Very difficult. At least I find it to be.
So far we've heard that that it's the tone of voice and the context that it has to be included in this discussion.
Right. And also the very words.
Yes.
The very words have to be, and that's the biggest part. All the other things you said are absolutely correct. I couldn't agree more. But what started all that is the actual words, you know. But then the other stuff is the other things you mentioned create the degree of the situation. See?
Exactly.
Okay. So and then the second thing I wanted to mention is about boy, I wish I could write this stuff down. Oh, blessing. When I go through my life since I'm 78 years old, and I said over many times, God bless you. And people have said that back to me. And I think that carries a lot of weight in the respect that it shows what kind of person you are and what you think about the other person. And so
Marty,
I hope I was
can
getting.
I speak after
Yeah.
Ricky?
Okay.
Yes, okay. I think Marcia wanted to say something too.
I
And
want to say,
And
did
Larry
I
has his
correct
hand up. I'm
everything?
next.
don't everybody try. Okay, Marcia's been having a lot of difficulty. Let her go first,
I'm
then
already-
Ricky,
After
I'm
Ricky.
sorry, I just.
and then Amy.
And then Amy. Okay.
I'm sorry, I keep recording and I don't want to do that. I want to be there, but I'll turned off everything and I'll try again.
It's perfect
Okay?
right now.
Oh, it
There
is,
is
good.
there is no
Okay.
echo.
I won't do anything.
Whatever you
Thank
did, there's no echo. Okay,
Okay.
Ricky.
I was next, yes. Okay. I want to pick up what Donald was saying. That I came to the conclusion a while back that if you say something that hurts, if you say something that you think is hurtful to me, if it is not true, it doesn't hurt me. If it is true, it's something I need to look at in me. So that's picking up on what Don said, that even if it hurts me, it's not hurtful, because if I'm on my toes, I will hear it, feel it, and do something about it. I will correct it if it's hurtful or whatever. So you can't hurt me. I can only hurt me if I accept it. But I choose not to. If it hurts, I look at it and try to learn from it. So that's my thing on what Don said.
Okay.
This is Amy.
Larry?
Okay.
Wait a minute. Amy, did we answer everything for you? Did you have another question?
No, I had a remark.
Did you want to say something?
Yes.
Go ahead, say it, and then I'll go on to Larry.
Okay. I respectfully disagree with some of the thinking on words not hurting or not hurting. They say that the pen is mightier than the sword, and I really believe that. I think we have to be very, very careful in what we say, and you can hurt someone who is completely innocent. I feel that there are many ways to kill a person other than just murder. And one of those ways is by what you say to them or about them, whether they're guilty or innocent of what you've said. You can kill a reputation, you can break a heart with what you say. And that's all I have to say.
I think it's a very important statement. And Grace is agreeing, but she's also said that if you're going to speak about someone, maybe it should be constructive criticism as opposed to just criticism.
Right.
Some other
Or
people
speak
have
directly,
said this. That's
or
right.
speak directly to that person and not to other people about that person. Like if I have a grievance with you, Marty, I should go directly to you and try and sort
Exactly.
it out with you, rather
Exactly.
than to tell my neighbor, I'm mad at Marty because of whatever.
So what does it mean? Oh, yes, go ahead, Larry.
We are speaking about power of saying bad things about someone. I'd like to flip it and really put it in context of a placebo effect. When people are given a sugar pill, they can believe it's medicine, it will help them. But also at services, we say a mishabera. And this is for people who are sick, hurting, with the idea that it can help them. And there are studies about praying for people, whether they know it and whether they don't know it. And if there is a name with the prayer for healing, and I've seen all different results, some saying it's effective and some not. But this is, again, power of words.
Yes. Very good point. Yes, Don.
Maybe out of politeness, our Christian members haven't weighed in here because the very basis of Christianity is a false accusation that actually did lead to physical death. And yet, this is where protection is conferred by God. To me, protection against accusation, false or true, all involve God. If they're, as Ricky said, if they're false, doesn't matter. If they're true, then it's a lesson, not a harm. So I'm going to stick.
Okay. All right. So we have a disagreement. But what about it? That's for us. But suppose you're the president of a group, some committee. You're the leader of a committee. What about that?
We need more information, Marty.
Well, is it proper to say bad things about that person behind their back?
No.
No.
To their face?
To them and in private.
Yes.
I know one.
Okay.
Exactly, Michael. In face to face, just you and that chairman first, in order to give that chairman.
What about your
Okay,
what about your state representative?
In a personal writing.
Yeah, people
In a
write
personal
their,
writing, or again.
And this dovetails into what has been said. There is constructive criticism. Okay. But if you just call him a dunderhead in so many words, whether it's to their face or not, doesn't that demean the person?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where
and
the
it
words,
demeans the
how
speaker
you
too.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry, Amy, I didn't hear you.
It demeans the speaker as well.
Yes. Yes.
Everything you say reflects on who you are as a person.
Right. So there are ways.
Not that you have to go around saying only good things about people, but when you have a grievance with someone, there is a protocol, a way to handle it fairly and justly. And I don't know what one does when election time comes up and you're trying to promote yourself and sway people against the candidate opposing you. But I guess you just discuss the issues that you're in favor of and let him sink or swim on his own rather than defaming him, even if he is a dunderhead.
Yeah, I try to use that word, but still, I know some people in their orations. I mean, Winston Churchill is well known for that, and others, polite put downs, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay, as opposed to insightful
Right.
comments. So yeah, I think, but cursing is more, reviling is more. Okay, Don, and then the rabbi. Rabbi's been sitting very patiently.
I would just offer an example of Wright Patman, the courageous Texas congressman who for 50 years fought against monopoly and fought for Black representation, and was Roosevelt's, as a Republican, was Roosevelt's hero for New Deal programs, who fought at great cost to his personal reputation, and finally was unceremoniously disposed of as committee chairman when the Watergate baby congressman came in and swept everyone out. Nobody remembers Wright Patman. It's an example of somebody who totally just and pure-hearted and just disposed of, without mention. So there's lots of people like that.
Yeah.
Lots of.
So, so we ought to think before we speak, I guess. But it's worse when you let your anger take over and you start to speak more than just badly about someone and starting a rumor, wish they weren't here, wish they would die, things like that. So we ought to maybe be a little careful. Yes, Rabbi.
Okay. Marty said I've been sitting patiently, but that's the wrong term. I've been sitting here actually seething. As one who has been a victim of false rumor, almost ruining my reputation, and costing me a job. As one whose family members have been horribly accused online, with widespread visibility, that hurts them to the core. Anyone who says that words don't matter or that words don't kill, kill both literally and figuratively. I would strongly disagree with that. Words matter in a positive way. Just coincidentally, I got an email this morning. That wasn't an email. It was a Facebook message from a young woman. Her father had passed away. I sent her a condolence message, and she wrote back and she said, "I thank you, Rabbi. I remember something that you said to me 40 years ago." Okay, so people do remember. It's not that it just goes off into the ethos space or whatever. People remember, and words do have an effect, both positively and negatively. And I don't want to go any further with that on personal, like I say, because I'm seething about it. Brings up horrible, painful messages and memories. On the other hand, I wanted to jump back into the conversation with the text. Okay. So
Please.
the verse 27, it's kind of, we've been approaching it as if it is two separate statements.
Right.
Do not revile God, nor put a curse upon a chieftain upon your people. Okay. All right. For one reason or another, and I think we might want to explore why, the Masoretes or even the biblical narrator and the editor put those two together. They are two phrases, they're two parallel phrases
Mm-hmm.
that basically say this is the way that you should remember to approach or have your relationship with the deity, and then also those who have been appointed or elected to lead the people, to lead you in the name of the deity, in God's name. They're linked together. It's not two separate statements. And the relationship, ideally, the relationship that you have and the respect that you should have towards God is also the same kind of relationship that you should have towards your leaders. Now, if we are going to proceed on the notion, and I agree with it, that we are entitled to be critical, and yes, I think Grace is right, constructively critical of our leaders, Judaism also absolutely affirms that we can criticize and be angry with God.
Mhm.
Okay? There's no double standard there. We can have just as much demand upon God as we can upon our presidents, kings, queens, whatever. So just wanted to throw that out. The two phrases in the biblical text are linked together. It's and. It's not, and nor, it's the same kind of relationship. They're just using a little bit of a different verb for the sake of literary parallelism.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Michael.
Since we're talking about words and meanings, a few things had jumped up at me, and I would say one of the greatest losses we've suffered here in our country is the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. He was wonderful with words. What he did with words and no crime or anything like that, it may have been the greatest loss this nation ever had, or at least one of the most important losses. Talking about words, now you have somebody that said Adolf Hitler was a great man. Those are just words, but look how far-reaching those words are, what they mean. And I hope I'm not getting too far afield with what we're talking about.
Okay. Any other discussion about this? Yes, Rabbi Mary.
I just want to share with you about talking behind the back of a person. There is a midrash that usually it's well known. I don't know if you know it. That someone came to a rabbi and said, "Why can't I speak behind his back? It doesn't hear, it doesn't affect anything." And the rabbi takes a pillow and opens it
up to the top.
And
that's right, the feathers.
And throws it, and the feathers go all over. You cannot put them back. What happened to Rabbi Roman, the people that did that, they're not going to apologize, they're not going to do. On the contrary, it might continue to fly around.
Yeah, but it also affects.
And you can't make it right.
That's right. So we have to pick and choose words carefully. And we all, from time to time, run into this. But that's all I wanted to bring out on that. Any other items to add to our discussion? Yes, Michael.
I want to say what happened, unfortunately, to our Rabbi Roman is sometimes, because I believe in God testing all of us. I believe in that. And it could have been a test to see how one would deal with that situation. If one could turn it around and use it in a constructive way, even though it would be very, very difficult. And I feel very bad for our Rabbi Roman that happened to him. It shouldn't happen anymore, that rabbi or any of us. So I feel terrible. And I would just say that it could have been a test. And probably, I have no doubt that Rabbi Roman handled it very, very well.
Okay. Any other yes, Helene, please.
I'll comment on what Mike just said, that God gives us tests, gives us difficulties so that we can learn from them.
Mhm.
And I once read a quote that said, "A night of terror and horror can bring you more wisdom than 20 years of sitting watching television." Because if you see that God is doing all of this, and I think we forget this, I believe we forget that we see ourselves as experts, that we can criticize night, good, bad, that I just don't believe it. I simply don't, but I'm me, I'm Helene. And I believe that only God makes the decisions. And if he wants me to be kind to someone who was cruel to me, if someone said something nasty to me, how do I respond? What does God say to do? This is what I believe. I believe God is saying to Helene, be kind to this person. Assume this person is hurting terribly inside of himself, that he has to get it out on somebody. He has to spit it out, but it's his own sadness and depression that is coming out. So if someone says something nasty to me, I have learned through many, many painful nights that I would say, this must be a hard day for you. And suddenly the kindness, this came from God, not from me, that if I say this must have been a very hard day for you, I see a change in that person. I see that God is giving him somebody that is not going to attack back, criticize, enable him to be right or wrong. The only right or wrong there is in this world, as far as I'm concerned, is God's word. And God is our Father, and our Father has all these children, and God wants his children truly, truly to be kind to one another. So therefore, I try not to respond in any way if someone is cruel to me. I just say, oh, are you having a difficult day? If so, I'm sorry. And you just watch the change in that person. That's all I want to say.
Okay. Thank you, Helene. Ricky had her hand. Okay, Ricky had her hand up, and then Gail.
Okay, I think I'm going to disagree with Helene here because that's turning it back on them in quite a negative way. Oh, you've had a bad day. You know, it's like my reaction when Helene started to talk was, you know, if somebody says something nasty to me, again, I'm going back to my basic premise. My gut reaction was to say thank you. You know, thank you for sharing that. Or you might be right, you know, but putting something positive toward them, but by saying you must be having a bad day is putting something negative back on them. And so I just tend to disagree there. Of course, it all depends on the situation. So
Sure.
it can all go up in the air depending on, you know, what it was, how it was said, what were the circumstances, blah, 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 blah. So, but I don't want to put it back to them in a negative way. Like I said, if you say to somebody, you may be right. You're not agreeing with them, but you're giving them a positive thing. You know, they may be right. That I think would change their attitude more than saying, well, you must be having a bad day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gail,
This is a lovely.
you're going to have the
discussion.
last word on this, and then we can move on.
Oh, come on. Now we're on one sentence.
I just want to say that it's one thing to have a one-on-one conversation with someone, and you're maybe thrashing through some problems that they're having with you. It's the problem is when it's done and it's about your reputation and it's not face to face, it's to other people. And I've been in the same situation as the rabbi, where someone attacked my reputation and I had no control over that. There was no way to approach. In fact, I'm not even sure to this day exactly who started the rumor. I can guess, but I don't really know. So I'm not sure how you speak to people that you don't even know or can only guess at. And the rumor has been spread out to 100 people. Well, there's no taking anything back at that point. So no, that's a whole different situation.
Okay, we're going to close this discussion, and we're going to move on because the one thing I noticed we didn't talk about was we spoke about to each other the second half of this statement. Now, how do you think God would feel given the same circumstances? Okay, as Rabbi Roman was having us think twice, that we're putting it together. It's that nor is not a separate sentence. It's and the word. And so if we look at the entire train of thought, with this comment also is how we address God or what we say about God. And maybe, I just noticed that was something that we left out of context. I know the rabbis over time, they came up with other names of God so that we would never use the real name of God. Okay? And that I can understand why this was done, if this is to be avoided. That's all I'm going to say about it. But I did find it interesting that we also left that part out of our equation as well. And yes, Don.
Yeah, well, that implies that the Hebrews had, and God wanted the Hebrews to have a theocracy, so that rulers are invested with a direct connection to God. Well, theocracy. And as David said earlier, today we don't have, or not in this country, despite how many people want to go back to that, it's different than a democracy. But at that time in the desert, the rulers had a direct line to God, if I'm reading it correctly. Big difference.
Yeah, it's just that we have to just, I think all of this is here just to say, be careful before you speak. That's all. I think that's a way of summarizing this, because sometimes we'll say something and it will, behind everyone's back, in front, to their face, they may take it the wrong way, whatever. The way we say it, as was pointed out, and the context within it, is it the right time to say it? Things like that. And the comment was made showing respect rather than saying, oh, I can do it better. You may be able to, but there's a way of trying to point out to your leader that there may be another way. It deals with tone of voice. It deals with a whole series of different things that have been pointed out in our discussion. So I just wanted to say that we should be just very careful when we do things. That's all.
One more thing, if I may, Marty. One thing we're forgetting, not forgetting, but which hasn't been mentioned, is that there's been a huge change with the advent of the internet.
Oh,
Because
yes,
now,
you can say anything you want. That's right.
Totally, yeah, no cost. You can reach 1 billion people with anything you want. It doesn't, and you can hide behind the anonymity of what you say. And
That's
so
right.
any of us who have hit the age of 40 have been falsely attacked multiple times. But now it's different, because now you
Yes.
there's, as I said, billions of people can be reached either by being trolling, or what they call it doxing, where you can have your history exposed in its.
Oh, yeah. You are very correct on that. And that's why, that's one of the negative aspects of the online experience.
Yeah.
That's very true. Someone else had their hand up for, yes, please, Helene, I appreciate it. Sure.
I apologize for forever going back to childhood, in a way, because we have forgotten what it was like to be 4 years old, most of us. But I read something that said, when a queen loses her crown, it is not any more painful than when a girl loses her favorite doll. And how you speak to the child who is in pain, or how you speak to the baby today is very different than it used to be. And today we are careful to listen to their feelings and
Yes.
listen to our words, and just be there, strengthening with love. And that's all I want to say.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So what is, I've lost my place now. Oh, yes. Okay. If we do, if somebody would like to read verses 28 and 29 together.
I always wait a few seconds and nobody steps up.
Okay, that's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. You shall not put off the skimming of the first yield of your vats. You shall give me the firstborn among your sons. You shall do the same with your cattle and your flocks. 7 days it shall remain with its mother. On the 8th day you shall give it to me. I think we did
this phrase. We did do this last week.
Yeah.
Yes, you were right. These phrases reminded me of that. What is your take on this? And take it step by step in the entire thing, so we don't jump back and forth. What does it mean by not removing? Don't put off the skimming of the first yield of your vats. What does that refer to? Anyone? Yes, Grace.
I believe it's a way that we should be honoring God for giving us the first fruits.
Okay. And how do we?
The source. He's the source of all of life, right? So it's just, that's all.
Okay. Somewhere we've read also that we're to give the first born. We're to and we're going to do that as part of the same verse. It's being sort of repeated here. And also the same with cattle and the sheep and goats. So any idea here as to why it's important? What is it talking about here? Yes, Rabbi.
Well, the statement which we encountered a number of times about the firstborn sons, it is not calling for the firstborn sons to be sacrificed.
Correct.
For the firstborn sons who have special, yichus, they have special obligations and expectations. But the firstborn sons would ordinarily be posted to divine service, to helping the Levites and the priests, to make sure that that they had all their provisions to do the farming for them, et cetera, because they didn't have their own land. So it was like an apprenticeship, that the firstborn son. And then what develops later on is if the family didn't want to give up the firstborn son to that kind of position, there was pidyon haben, there was redeeming the firstborn son and giving to the priests or the Levites a certain amount of money so that they could perhaps engage someone else to do the work that this son wouldn't have been able to do. That's classically and traditionally how the phrase was understood, and we certainly know the importance of the firstborn of every species being devoted to God in one way or another, or dedicated to God.
Okay.
Yeah.
We touched a bit on that last week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, Don.
Thank you, Rabbi. I was going to ask what the Hebrew is for the verb to give in relation to the livestock and firstborn sons. Is it the same verb?
It's to give.
So the distinction between giving the oxen, the sheep, and the firstborn son it's the same verb to give.
Yeah, because it specifically, if somebody says "kain taseh," thus, yes, do the same. It's the same. It's not enumerated as a verb. It just continues on. Thus shall you do also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if we tie that into verse 1, why don't you, Ricky, if you would be kind enough to read verses 1 through 3.
No, no, don't we need to read verse 30?
We need to read 30.
Oh, 30, 30,
30.
yes, go ahead.
Okay.
That's right. We did read this. We
And-
discussed it last week. You were correct. Go ahead. Go ahead, read
You
verse.
shall be holy people to me. You must not eat flesh torn by beasts in the field. You shall cast it to the dogs.
No, wait. Excuse me.
That's 30.
Verse 30 is, and you shall be a holy people to me.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, in
but
some,
is that a standalone?
that's
Is that a
one,
standalone line, or is that connected to these other commandments, whatever you want to, rules, whatever you want to call them? It seems an odd
Connected.
placement.
Yeah.
It can be,
Connected.
Gail, it can be whichever you
Connected.
want it to be because the Hebrew doesn't have punctuation. My English has a colon.
Yeah, okay.
correct, mine too.
You know, like
It's
you,
supposed-
you should be a holy people, colon. Example, you know, or another IE kind of thing. But
Okay.
the Hebrew doesn't have the punctuation. So
No, I
read
understand.
it however you want to read it.
But it just seems an odd place. I don't know, to me. But to me, it should have been at the end of this whole chapter, not near the end. Because the next verse is very strange.
Well,
I mean, it comes after that line, I think. I don't know.
well, they are tied together. Because why do you should not eat the meat torn by beasts in the field? Why that phrase? I think we discussed it a little bit last week.
Because we have a very special way of killing animals. So if a tiger attacks your cow, that doesn't, the meat is not kosher, it's trefa.
Okay. Any other comments about that? Apparently, there is an old belief, according to Rabbi Plow, that there's an old belief that the wild animal transferred its evil power to the torn animal. And also it says, Rabbi Plow says, a similar prohibition is found in Deuteronomy 14:21, where such a carcass is known as nevelah. And later Jewish tradition provided that specific rules of ritual slaughtering had to be followed in order to make meat kosher. Yes,
Now
Rabbi.
in Israel, the word nevelah is one of the curses. Ata nevelah. So it's transferred to humans as a
Right.
Yeah,
bad trip.
that's
Yeah,
right.
the description here is a word in the Hebrew, is a word that a lot of people know, but this is the origin of it, is treif. You know, the opposite of something that's kosher, it's treif, is
Right.
here it's torn.
Sorry.
The certainly giving respect to my teacher, Rabbi Dr. Plout. But also it was pointed out to me when I was first studying this that the distinction is that if the tearing beast, not the victim, but if the tearing beast comes from the field, comes from outside of your own pasture, okay, you have no way of knowing whether it has disease or anything like that. So if it was an attack between, it'd be different. It was attacked between two of your own beasts of burden, that out of your own flock. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about if it was a beast, a wild beast that came from somewhere else, and you didn't know the origin. That was considered treif.
Right. Yes, Michael. You're muted, Michael.
Yeah, I just want to throw this question out, and it is this: does superstition, a Jewish superstition, ever become law, Jewish law?
I would maintain not Jewish custom, yes, but not law.
Not what?
Not law, not halakha, not religious
Su-
law, but
Yeah,
custom,
superstition, yeah,
custom, yes.
custom. Over time,
I don't know if, Rabbi, do you think that there is a word for superstition? Emunat felah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a side-wired word. It's not exactly superstition. So if that's the case, it cannot become.
There is a word, and I'm blanking on. There's a rabbinic word. I think it's Aramaic, and I'm blanking on it right now. But yes, there is a term that they use for that.
Yes, Larry.
If I could go back to 28 and 29, giving fruit and then giving the firstborn of ox. Doesn't this go back to Cain and Abel? And Abel gave the firstborn of his flock and was greatly appreciated by God. And Cain's offering, not so much. So are there parallels to this?
I would, it in a way, I think there is.
Now here it was mentioned first, the giving of the agricultural product, where previously it wasn't considered good enough.
Okay. Very, very good, everyone. However, do you think the phrase "you shall be men holy to me," or "you shall be holy people to me," whatever words you have, do you think that what comes before that and afterward have to do with keeping yourself holy? If somebody would read verses 1 through 3.
All right, that was.
Go ahead, Ricky. You're on it today. You're on today.
You must not carry false rumors. You shall not join hands with the guilty to act as a malicious witness. You shall neither side with the mighty to do wrong. You shall not give perverse testimony in a dispute so as to pervert it in the favor of the mighty, nor shall you show deference to a poor man in his dispute. Ugh. Oh.
There's a lot here.
There's a lot here, but it was funny. Kind of made sense. It was all in the same vein until I got to 3. Nor shall you show deference to a poor man. Why shouldn't you show a little deference to the poor man? But anyway, that's beside the point.
It sounds like it's describing a cult. You know?
Go ahead, say.
I mean, that's the impression I got when I read first reading through it. It sounded like a cult, where you join with all these people and you become insular and yeah.
All right. But why is this going to keep the group of people holy?
Could you repeat that, Marty?
Why is this behavior going to maintain your holiness?
Well, you're talking about
if you follow these guidelines, these commandments, what would
it seems that you must not carry false rumors. You shall not join hands with the guilty to act as a malicious witness. What this says is that you're tarnishing the community,
right?
In a way.
Yes. So here, if we go back and read the verses that come before verse 30 and the verses that come after, it's like an interjection. You shall, all of these are examples of how you would tarnish, using your words, tarnish your role as a holy people.
Your particular role, then you do not establish credibility as a person or a leader if the rumor turned out to be false, which is among the people of the community find out that's false. So then you lose credibility as either a member of the community or the leader.
How do you think God would feel? I mean, we always address, you are right, Michael, you're right. But it says, you shall be either people or men, holy to me. Everything else that is being before and after are ways in which you can screw things up. You're not holy to God.
Well, that would be a first order of business.
Yeah, we tend to look at it in a very practical way, but now we have to talk about also the spiritual side. You're right. You're very correct with regard to the practical way of a community, but it's also all of this here. You must not, you shall be men holy to me. So if you do any of these things, if you don't follow the rules, what are you doing? If you're not, you're reviling God.
Yeah, you're answering to God. That's the bottom line. I see. You're answering to God,
Yeah,
and that by not being
right.
by doing this, you're not being a holy person, and therefore you're not being true to me, meaning God.
And by the way, Gail is correct when she uses the term cult, cultic rules. If you're going to be part of this organization, okay, think of this as the bylaws. We have other ways in our community of looking at this. These are the bylaws. If you're going to belong to the group, you're going to follow these rules. Otherwise, you're no longer considered a member of the group. So we can look at it from that position as well. So I think these are very important. If you look at it, not just for yourself and for your family and your community, and how you treat others that are not part of your community, and how you're going to interfere with your spiritual relationship with God, you start to get a different feeling about these rules and regulations, if you will, or commandments. So just food for thought.
When I use the word cult, I've got.
No, I have it in my text too.
I'd like to read what Friedman says, because I think it really explains it best. He says, not be following many to do bad. Do not follow a group, a crowd, a majority if what they are doing is wrong. Do not do it for acceptance, for the secure feeling of being in a group, or for the sadistic pleasure of being able to exclude someone. It is easy to be harmful in a group. That's my definition of a cult.
What you just pointed out, very, very important.
Well, not me, Friedman.
No, but you pointed out, I'm going to give you credit for it because it's very important. As we grow up, there are a lot of temptations that come along. Can't avoid the temptations. They're all around us. The most serious one that comes to mind is drugs. There's a lot of temptation. Oh, come on and try it. Nobody will know. okay? Or you'll have more fun. Or they'll make a statement and you will give in to something like that. Wouldn't that be not only be harmful to you, but your family and, you know, all the other people that surround you? Because you know that you have selected false friends.
I could tell you.
Any other examples that you can think of?
Well, if I could just respond to what you just said, Marty, very quickly. And in my particular profession, starting as a kid in New York and throughout in Hollywood, I was at times I was not part of the crowd, if you will, when people have tried to get me induced in trying drugs or whatever. I said nope, you know, and I was terribly pressured, but I continued to say no. And so then after a while, people came around, tell me, Michael, you're very, very strong. That's I'm glad you're my friend. It has it can work different ways, you know, in that particular situation based on what you were saying, Marty.
So what about it if you're a witness in court and you know that you are willing to say something that is in the favor of somebody in power, but you know it's wrong? They really did do what they said.
Well, if you're a witness in court, you've got to state the truth.
Well, that's what this is after.
You have
That's
an
right.
oath under God to state the truth.
Yeah, and then
You
you put
don't
a
have
hand,
a choice.
and that's why you put the hand on the Bible when you go to court. It's a very serious
Exactly.
situation. And I mean, that's pretty simple. You got to state the truth. Whatever that truth is, that's what you got to state.
So even if it's a politician,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter who it is.
Doesn't matter who it is.
Right.
Because when you put your hand on the Bible, you're swearing to God. You're telling God the truth. That's what you're doing. You're telling the truth to God.
So
and to God, no matter who it is that you're a witness for or against or whatever, you're swearing to God that you tell the truth.
Okay.
Very good. Yes, Gail.
Okay, to just follow up on the cult, I was thinking of Jim Jones in particular. You all remember Jim Jones. And how many hundreds, 900 people? Because they were insecure, he took advantage of them and they joined because in a group you feel more secure. I mean, all the psychological reasons for joining a cult. Very interesting. And it's human nature. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, we want to belong.
Happens.
Sure.
What a tragedy. Just.
I think we're in agreement on these. So you can think of other situations where you can go astray. I just picked out one. There are other things, cheating on an exam. Okay, just because others do it doesn't mean it's necessarily correct. Yes, Don.
Yeah, I would just mention the one aspect of this is mob rule, where at January 6th, but Madison was really afraid of democracy because he thought the majority is too often wrong, and the majority turns into a mob and squashes the truth in a minority. So this problem never leaves us. Always there.
So
yeah, I agree with you. The statement "Acharei rabim lahatot," to go after the majority, it's probably the basis for democracy. But I didn't realize that the first part of the verse is the forbidden thing of going after the majority that does bad. We're talking here about your conscience, and you can be a Ku Klux Klan, join because you like white. I don't know, But, in every case, you can see prejudice is one of those that most of the people, I'm just affected by the movie USA and the Holocaust. If you look at it's the issue of prejudice, personal, and if you see your neighbors are doing the same, you join. It protects you. It makes you feel good. I'm with other chevre. So, yeah.
That's right. Now, why verse 3, where it says, "Nor shall you show deference to a poor man in his dispute"?
We're talking about justice. Justice.
Yeah.
is in favor of
Justice.
the other.
Justice.
Okay.
Total objectivity, total impartiality.
That's right. That's exactly okay. We want to get that blindfold back on
Justice.
Lady Justice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it comes again that you should not discriminate between a rich man and a poor man just because you feel sorry for that, but justice doesn't change who you are and what your socioeconomic level is.
There's an equality.
That's right.
You're talking about equality.
Equality under the law. That's right.
Right.
So we have to be careful, and there's a fine line that takes place here. It's easy to go overboard when in your thinking, when it's somebody with power, but we can also go overboard in the other direction too. When we come to the concept of tithing, why do we say don't give it all to the poor? If you give all of your things, what happens to you?
You become poor.
Right. So there are fine lines here that have to be taken into consideration.
Also, if I were ordered to give away all or most of whatever I earned or blah, 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 I would be not encouraged, I wouldn't be motivated to go out and earn more. I need the motivation of being able to keep some of it for my own use and my own wants and desires.
Okay.
It's an encouragement. If you give everything away, just to pick up a little bit more on what Ricky just said, you create a situation for that person not to get up and create some wealth for themselves. There's no incentive. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, that's what Ricky was getting at.
Yeah, there's no incentive to create a willingness for the poor person to create some wealth for themselves, and that's probably what Ricky said. That's right in there. I think that would be very critical.
Well, it's but why the failure of each according to his means, everybody does according to their ability, doesn't work. That's been proven.
Okay.
Yeah. Now.
Okay. I'm reading the chat response. Grace asks an interesting question. And Grace, would you like to expand on that? You're asking about how many commandments have just been introduced during these last several verses.
Lots.
Yeah, lots. I'm, because I'm in that process of conversion to Judaism as a Jew, 613, I believe, is our, total. And so I'm seeing many more now here today than I've ever really recognized before. That's all I'm really saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a child. I'm very, very young in what I am, learning and doing. And it's very difficult to, what is that saying? An old dog, new tricks.
Yes, Rabbi Norman.
Grace, don't let it bother you. Their Jewish tradition is very clear. No one has been able to accomplish all of the 613. Okay, many of them can't be done anymore because we don't have the sacrifices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's no one list of the 613. Different classical rabbis present different lists because some of them disagree on whether, even using a couple of these examples, whether they're for all the people or whether they're just for the judges or the leaders of the people, for example. So just continue to study and be astonished, and find interpretation that resonates for you. That's great.
I remember when the book came out, Living Biblically, there was this guy who was going to live according to the Bible. And when it came to you'll stone an adulterer, he finally found somebody in Central Park who admitted he was an adulterer. So he picked up a pebble and threw it at him. So he did that one commandment.
Oh, I heard that he gave him a marijuana gum.
Thank you,
Give him
Rabbi.
a hit. Yes.
I heard a pebble.
Oh, golly, we're degenerating now. Anyway, I think that it's just a very interesting series of verses.
And Marty?
Yes, please.
I appreciate, and I think it's a correct analysis and way to look at it, is talking about, I forget who was the first one to use it, if it was Gail or you yourself, of talking about a particular, as a cult.
Yes.
And I'm struck at the difference in the phraseology here, where it says, Anshe Kodesh Tihiyunli, that you shall be people of holiness, right? For me, for God, as opposed to in Leviticus, in the portion, well, David's not with us anymore, right? But it's our bar mitzvah Torah portion that we share of Kedoshim Tihiyu, of you shall all be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. So it's kind of a different tack or a different expression of one is you in your life shall be holy, and the other is more like, as people have been describing, membership in this cult or group or community that's defined by being, let's stay away from the word holy. Let's talk in terms of unique, in special, different. To me, there's a distinction that we're not quite, they're still too early in their lifetime and development as a people to talk about each and every one being holy. But if you want to understand this cult or our community or what we stand for, here's a list of examples of what I, as God, expect of you, not because I want you to be like me, which is the Leviticus pattern, but because if you want to be included, if you want to be affirmed as a member of the people, these are the things that you should try to practice in your life.
Very good.
Very good. Term cult, I was using it in a negative way, and I wasn't implying that a religious group is a cult. It's a different definition.
But it is a cultural appropriate term.
Yeah.
Right.
Every group you belong to will have bylaws. You either accept them and you join the group, or you do not accept them, and either you leave voluntarily or the group will abandon you. Right? So that's also the definition of a cult.
That's one of the reasons I converted, because I wasn't comfortable in the quote Christian community, because I couldn't accept the bylaws, if you will. So,
Yeah,
now I
that's
know where I should be. Yeah.
another way of putting it to make it so we can understand it. Yes, Don. Oh, I don't know who had the hand up first, you or Michael.
Go ahead, Michael.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I don't know how many people would say that God is in every one of us. So therefore, if that's the case, if that is true, people believe that, then we are incumbent to do the right thing. That would be an incentive to do the right thing towards another person. Because you are honoring God by doing that, and it just creates a situation where you're dealing with other people, and you got to do the right thing, because that's what God expects of us, and that really is what the whole thing is all about for me, about being a good person, and also that we believe that we are created in the image of God. So again, I'm not sure exactly how to put that all together, but that's something that I believe, and it put me on the right path to doing the right thing all of my life, but for the rest of my life.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Don.
I shouldn't ask this question, but it's kind of begged here. Are these the things that define a Jew? What differentiates a Jew in this context from other people?
Very good. I'm going to defer that question to the rabbis.
Do you mean in the biblical context or contemporary?
Well, let's both, but I don't want to. This will take us too far afield, so let's stick with biblical. And I'll mention I'm reading a 400-page book on this question right now, and
Who's the author?
Professor God, G-A-D. And I think it's a brilliant book, but it's I'm looking for some guidance practical guidance from rabbis. And so if you can tell me, save it for another time, or if you can point me in the right direction, that would be great.
Well, I think the longer discussion, yes, is probably saved for another time. But I think a lot of the words that we have used, even this morning, probably would help define what what the Bible or the Torah's goal of defining a Jew. Of course, they didn't use the word Jew, but but Hebrew or a member of the Israelite people, and things like a lot of the words that we've used today of seeing human beings as created in God's image, seeing that there are differences between blessings and curses, good and evil, doing things that affirm life and the sanctity, the dignity, the decency of life, that all should be treated equally, whether it's in an interpersonal relationship one to the other, whether it's employer-employee, whether it's in the judge or the leader of the people or the king, and how he or she relate to the people as well as relate to God. I think those are some of the those are some of the descriptions that you either accept those tenets, those basic principles. Oh yeah, and believe in one God. I guess we should throw that one there too. All right. That there's that, and I would maintain. Here's another one that I would maintain, and again, there are many rabbis and Jews who would disagree with me, but I believe that the Israelite religion, if you will, or community was not commanded to or identified to consider ourselves superior. Okay. To any other people, to recognize that there's authenticity to other peoples and their identities and their life choices and whatever, but this is the one that best manifests what our God wants of us, and ideally that serves as a role model for other peoples. That doesn't mean that we expect every other people to ultimately follow us and become Israelites or Jews, but to gain meaning in their lives through looking at the decisions that we make as a people.
Okay,
a little bit.
Yeah, that'll get me on track. But I keep realizing that well under half the people in Israel believe in God at all. So it's the Shema is, to me, what is the first step in defining a Jew.
I know lots of people and lots of stories, whether it's biblically, whether it's rabbinically, whether it's Holocaust time, or whether it's last night, who will say publicly that they don't believe in God, and then before going to sleep, they'll say the Shema.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ricky, you'll go after Grace. Grace.
Wait a minute, I don't have my hand up. That must
Oh, okay. Grace had her hand up for a while.
Somebody keeps putting it up.
Hi, thank you. I just put it mostly into the chat. That's a very distinct question for me to ponder, Don. Thank you. For me, my Jewish friends and people that I've known and been around, because I grew up all over the country and the world, experiencing different cultures, languages, customs. The people that always stood out were Jews. And I believe in my mother's side, the ancestry, my grandfather was originally a Jew. It's very difficult to track any of that at this point in my life. But my doctors, for instance, they're the most humane people that were a Jew, that treated me with kindness and not just a number in the system. That stood out to me. Their ability to be very cultural and treat one another with equality, that stood out to me. It's those, and that's all I can share at this point. But some of the most respectful people I've known have been Jew. So I like that. I like that as an example as to what we should do as our belief in God, and how we should, treat one another always. And I don't do anything always or good enough or, holy enough to be a Jew, but, at least I'm willing to try and keep trying.
Thank you. Yes, Michael.
Thank you, Grace. The Jewish people have, for the most part, have been very respectful people. As a matter of fact, we don't even proselytize. We don't knock on nobody's doors to say, become a Jew. Jews have contributed so much to the world over many, many years. And you don't find Jewish men running around as street gangs. The reason I'm saying that is this. If that is true, which it is true, why is there so much anti-Semitism against Jews? I just had to bring that up based on what you were saying. But there was something else I wanted to bring up, and it kind of slipped my mind.
Okay.
Maybe it'll come back. But
All right. Any other comments? Now, all I'm going to ask you to do.
Rabbi Mary wants to.
Okay, Mary. Rabbi Mary.
I will be brief because Grace, as you were talking, there are Jews and there are Jews. There are good Jews and not so good Jews. But this comes inside what I would call prejudice. Prejudice is prejudging. And because of that kind of prejudice, we had a lot of tzores, we had a lot of problems. So putting a blanket on our people is a little tricky. And I'm just going to throw it here, what's going on in the state of Israel. Because we believe that the Jews are whatever, then when they misbehave, it's really bad. I'll give you an example. When someone in the stock market or wherever it is does something really bad, the first question we ask, is he Jewish? Is he Jew? Because if he is Jew, it's a cousin of us. I belong to the same tribe. But we have to be very cautious. I'm so glad that your doctors were wonderful. It's great. There are some people that are wonderful, and we are very blessed with them.
Okay, very nice. Well, all I was going to say is that now, if you go back and you look at some of the commandments, and also you take that phrase, you shall be men holy to me, or you shall be people holy to me. If you just take that phrase and now use it whenever you come across a commandment, you can go back, to the 10 Commandments, as we've been plodding through all of what preceded this statement and what we're going to be reading subsequently, then I think you get the drift of why all of this is being mentioned. That's all. Yes, Gail.
I always think of the word Israel, to wrestle.
To wrestle.
Wrestle with God.
Yes.
And that's what, to me, that's really what being a Jew is I wrestle with God. And whatever your concept of God is, I'm sure we've got 10 different concepts of what God is.
Sure.
To me, it's the singularity, the concept of everything is one. That to me is the most important. But again, we wrestle. That's what we do.
Yep. Whether we like it or not, that's right. It's our nature. Actually, it's discussions like this that, we're doing the same thing. We're using our wits to try to allow things to have more meaning to each of us individually. And so it's rather important, I think, that we at least go through the exercise. But we should never want to say to other people, you're wrong, this is the only correct way.
Right.
Okay, so that's why we like to take lots of different opinions and discuss them all, regardless. If it doesn't make necessary sense to us, we still need to show that respect. And that's what this is telling us. Do it, but show the respect. Yes, Michael.
Yes, I remembered. I wanted to mention atheism. I've said this several times before, but not to this, I don't think to this group, because this happened many years ago. At a Torah study we had many years ago, maybe 13, 12, 14 years ago. Anyway, there was a very sweet woman part of the group, and one morning she just got up and says, "I'm an atheist." Just got up for no apparent reason and said, "I'm an atheist." And so some weeks later, the same woman said to the group, "Let's pray, please let us pray for anybody who was injured in an accident I just witnessed on the 19th. And I said, well, who are you going to pray to? I don't understand that. So the bottom line is, I think atheism comes with a lot of confusion. I think many atheists are terribly confused, such as this very nice lady who I'm speaking of. I don't have to mention her name. That's not important. But from that event came to me that this lady is very confused. And I think that's what atheism does do to people who say they're atheists.
Okay, that's your opinion on that. And okay, you're entitled to it. But I think that here, what I was getting after, Michael, is that we still need to respect others, and what they may not look at everything the same way as you look at it, or I look at it, or a rabbi looks at it. I've known several rabbis who are atheists, and they do a darn good job. Okay?
I agree with that, Marty. I want you to know I agree with you.
That's right. And so I think that we just have to keep, and that is a form of our responsibility, I think, to respect the opinions of others and everything. And sometimes it's okay. We don't have to, but in the context of Torah, we would say that God is number one in Torah. Over the centuries, changes have happened to the Jewish people, and their thinking is different. It reflects different concepts.
Yeah, Marty, if I may, I have a very good friend here, my neighbor, a Jewish man. He's a complete atheist, and I completely respect him. Has nothing, what I was mentioning is not disrespect. Oh no, I probably misspoke, but I respect him very much. In other ways, the lady who I was referring to, I respect her very much. Just mentioning that, I think they're just confused, but I respect them. Highly respect them. They're good people. Just say it happens to be very good people, and they just don't have a belief in God, and I respect their belief. I have no issue with that whatsoever. Just want to make that absolutely clear.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Well, it's 12 o'clock.
Marty,
Yes.
before we leave, I absolutely encourage you to watch the Ken Burns portrayal of the Holocaust and what happened in the United States at that time. It's on PBS, and it's long because but you can cut and paste the way you want. It's absolutely wonderful. And then there is a podcast that I love that's called People That I Mostly Love. People That I Mostly Love. And it's a beautiful interview with Ken Burns because I don't have words to describe it. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's a good, and by the way, it is, I think it's worth watching for another reason, that some of the subjects that are discussed in that as to how things developed, not only here in the United States, but internationally, and when the Nazis came on board and everything, when you look at that, and you now look at the campuses in the United States that are having Jewish-free zones, and that applies to college campuses in many, many states.
Wow. I
Should
never
be
heard
very
that.
much aware of this program that you mentioned, Mary.
I found it interesting too, because of what I look at, the question of, quote, immigrants, which
Yeah.
is still a very prevalent issue in this country, and we don't deal with it very well. So
We never have.
very relative.
We never have since the inception of the country. That's right. So, yes, Grace.
Thank you. What a great discussion today. I appreciate everything. I just would like to say this directly from my heart to any of you that will be going over to Professor Levy's home this evening. If you would just
Tomorrow evening.
Is
It's
it tomorrow? Oh,
Tomorrow.
okay. Well, then let him know that truly in my heart I have the fondest, most beautiful memories of Wendy, and that I appreciate all that he offers us in our Torah, and that would mean a lot to me if you could do that. And then, of course, if somebody has an airplane and they'd like to fly up here, we have a small airport, and Sebastian and I would be glad to get on the plane. So, thank you.
We will, Grace. Thank you very much. In speaking with David, I did mention our concerns for him and our sorrow for the passing of Wendy. I did convey that from the group already, based on our earlier discussions too, but I'll extend that to him for you. Any other comments? Well, this was good, but any other comments, Rabbi, or ideas? Because I know this deviates a lot from the Torah study that you have during the week.
No, I mean, appreciated the people's comments and the interpretations that we have. It's always illuminating, as we say. Please join us for Yom Kippur Tuesday night, on and off all day Wednesday, including the we're going to try this Yom Kippur symposium at 2:00 on Yom Kippur afternoon. Break the fast. The men's club and the sisterhood are providing. There's Ruth Ann, over 70 people coming now.
Yep.
Okay, Ricky, thanks for helping to put it together.
Right.
Right, and an invitation. You might remember, and hopefully you will even more after this year, my Yom Kippur morning pattern is that I always, what I call my Hineni sermon, is telling the story of someone or some people who have answered Hineni to the important questions of their time. So hope that'll be an inspirational story to hear.
Thank you. Thank you very much. With that,
thanks, everybody. Shana Tova, Gemar Chatima Tova.
Marty, can you stay on just a minute? Ruth Ann's gonna leave this open. I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, first of all, Marty. Okay, if we're not at the Shiva tomorrow, Suzanne's husband, Steve, evidently had another seizure last night.
Oh, no.
Hospital. That's why she didn't join us.
I was going to ask
Okay.
that. Okay.
And so if Sid and I are planning on being over at David's, but if we are not, it's because we're with Susan.
I
and
can
Steve.
understand. Sure. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Marcia,
Marcia,
I don't know what's going on here, but I'm gonna
kick you off.
kick you off.
You're muted. You're muted, Marcia. There.
She's
Okay.
gone. It doesn't.
All right. Marty, I had an angiogram this last couple days ago, and I got blockage that they got a roto-rooter. 70% blockage, but it's calcified.
Okay.
Doctor changed my meds. Okay. I used to, very occasionally, but now it's very regular, get like hot flashes, cold sweats. I mean, I literally, for the last few minutes of today, I didn't want to get up. I felt so lightheaded. What can I do when those things happen? I'm going to just change and stop the new meds. Plavix, and I can't remember what the other one was. But I see the doctor this week. But what I really want to ask you is, what can I do other than all of a sudden drink gallons of water or something? Salt. Is there anything I can do that when I get these spells, sometimes they only last 2 minutes, but this one's been lasting about 10. And I mean, sweaty, drippy sweat.
Yeah. I understand. I go through that. Fortunately, not when I'm in Torah study, but I do run into that. And I just say, well, the medicines are doing their job. And if this is what I have to put up with, even though it may be very, it really does take energy out of you.
I immediately need a nap. I need to eat. I need to do something.
So that's one thing. The other is, there are several other things that can do that. Other things are heart issues.
Oh, that's the issue. Yeah.
Okay, themselves. You have to be careful stopping medications, because if you do, you could cause more problems. Do it with your particular doctor's advice. Now, it may be that it's a certain combination of medicines too, and that has to be looked at. He has to look at that. Stress,
go into that.
Stress and nervousness can do it. It is because it's a stimulation of the adrenaline, if you will do that. But we're really dealing with a parasympathetic response. That's what causes the sweating, where the veins are dilating.
Yeah, okay. But my question, I don't even really care the why. What can I do when I'm in it? I mean, like I said, I would not.
Cold compress, use a cold compress, but that's all you can do. There's nothing, there are things advertised on TV. I'm not a fan of those items. Okay, some people may be helped, but it may be a situation of mind over matter. I don't know. There are devices for menopause, which with women go through similar things. But if there are associated symptoms, weakness, fatigue, things like that, it may be related to the heart or lungs or one of the internal organs. All right.
Basically, you're saying just wait it out.
For the time being, until they can do things, but you want to stay with the Plavix. They'll sort of guide you with everything, when to stop it for the surgery and everything else.
Okay. All right.
Ricky, did you talk to your pharmacist?
No, I mean, it was this last one, which I just had, was the longest, the wettest, the hottest I've been. Most of the time, it's like, all right, you know, it's just a couple of minutes. I sit still, I just wait it out. But this one was, well, it was probably about quarter of, and it was only as everybody was like doing their stick at the end that I finally started to be able to even talk. I mean, but I knew I would not get up. It was that bad.
The reason why I mentioned heart is women, especially women, can run into what we call silent angina.
My father had angina a lot, and he had nitro pills all the time.
But they can have it silent, no pain.
Yeah, no pain. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's why I say you need to discuss it with your doc. Okay. It could be something as simple as that. There are too many possibilities for me to do it.
There's just, but all I can do like right now is wait it out. I mean, now I'm almost back.
Okay.
You know, that's all I've ever done.
But
is
Ruth Ann's,
wait it out.
but Ruth Ann's answer to you was probably the best. First, check it with your pharmacist and see if the last medicine that was added, if it's since then, or a combination of that plus one of the others may be causing the problem. But you don't stop your medicine, you continue with it.
All the changes in meds were done by one doctor.
Okay.
The cardiologist.
All right.
Therefore, I'm sure he knows the interaction because he put me on one before the CTA, and then I stayed on that. Then he added the Plavix. He took me off the lisinopril and the hydrochlorothiazide because my blood pressure dropped to 70/40 when I was getting the angiogram. And they had to like really just load me up with fluids.
She just froze.
She just froze.
We cut it down.
Sure.
And he cut those out, the hydrochlorothiazide. So he is the same doctor, has complete control. The only other med I take is a statin. And, you know, so big deal. I mean, but all of 2 meds we stopped and 2 meds we added were all the same doctor. So he should know the interactions. That's, you know, so.
So you want to talk to him about that and or the pharmacist. It'll give you some better ideas as to what may be going on. Because there are too many variables that I didn't know, but I can tell you they have to be able to look into everything.
Yeah, if they were different doctors involved, I definitely would like go, now what? But it's all been the same cardiologist.
Sure.
So that's my plan. But the quick question was going to be, is there some trick like, you know, you're getting heat stroke, drink salt water, you know, not just plain water, but add salt to the water to get the, you know,
the most important thing though is it could be angina.
Yeah.
Silent angina. That's what we call it, where the patient does not have any pain. And women are more prone to that.
What is angina? I don't even know.
Chest pain. It's a spasm. It's a spasm or blood clot in the blood in the cardiac arteries. Okay. And diabetics and women are 2 groups that can experience this type of symptomatology and not be necessarily manifested with pain. That's all.
Well, I don't have diabetes, but I am a woman. So I qualify on one of those. All right.
Okay.
Well, I'll just drink plenty of fluids, which I keep trying, and
Yeah.
just wait it out, sit it out.
We were trained to look for the worst things first and then think about all the other things, the other possibilities afterwards. So that's why I have to.
I'm having a heart attack, but it's like I didn't have hot flashes when I went through menopause, and I'm having them now.
Okay.
You know, it's like, oh, what is this?
But it's
shit?
everything else in addition.
I know.
It's everything else in addition. And then, of course, if there's any depression with everything that's going on, that can also be, and that if so, you need to discuss it with the doc. Okay.
I'm depressed. I used up all my depression 20 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I had enough the first 40 years of my life.
Okay.
50 years of my life. I don't do that anymore. I don't
Okay.
stress. Well, I think you can tell that from my answers to different things. I don't stress. I don't depress. I don't even get angry anymore. It's not
Well, that's
worth.
good. But sometimes things occur and you bottle it up inside, and that's not good either.
I know that symptom. It's called,
Okay.
it's called clenched teeth.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. See everybody on Tuesday.
Take care. Yes.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.